The 2025 NFL Draft is now in the books, and what a roller coaster it was, from the slide of Shedeur Sanders to watching all of our favourite running back sleepers drop all the way down the boards. With rosters now set in stone until the next wave of free agency, we know who the winners and losers of the draft are. And in this video, I'm going to take you through 4 winners and 4 losers, veteran players who either had a huge weekend or who might even find themselves on the roster bubble. If you like this content, please consider liking and subscribing, but let's get into it. The first winner for me is Drake Maye, quarterback of the New England Patriots. The Patriots had such a huge need coming into the offseason, and it was offensive line and wide receiver. And this was a huge issue for Maye because obviously coming into the league, you need people to protect you, and you need people to pass it to, and he basically had neither. Despite that, he still managed to perform for fantasy last season when he eventually took over the starting role and looks a really exciting prospect. But for us to be in on him for fantasy this year, we needed to see more protection and we needed to see more weapons. Well, the Patriots did exactly that. At 4th overall, they drafted Will Campbell, seen by many as the top tackle in the draft, who should be plug and play at left tackle. Obviously, some concerns about the arm length, but as Campbell said himself, people have been watching his tape for multiple years, and it's only when they measured his arms that they think he might not be able to play tackle. This is a smash pick for me and is fantastic for them to help shore up Drake Maye's future and the ability to actually stay on his feet. Then, in the second round, they went and got Travion Henderson, my running back 2 in this class, and someone that I was very excited for coming into the league. Thought he'd go to the Bears or the Broncos, maybe even the Chiefs at the back of the first, but he ends up going to the Patriots. One of the huge things here is that he is a fantastic receiving back and a fantastic pass protector. So for Drake Maye, this is going to have huge fantasy value of someone you can use as a weapon in the passing game, but also can help protect you. It was such a huge issue last season. Then they even went and got another receiver, Kyle Williams, in the 3rd round. Now, Kyle Williams wasn't someone I paid too much attention to coming into the draft, but he is so pro-ready. His release package is exceptional, and he should be a fantastic complement to Stephon Diggs as the wide receiver 2 on this team. It is a huge, huge improvement from going into last year with Kendrick Bourne, Pop Douglas, and Kayshon Boutte as your top 3 wide receivers. Diggs, Williams, and then potentially Pop Douglas as your slot is such a huge, huge improvement for Drake Maye and makes him a huge winner of the 2025 NFL Draft. One of the biggest losers for me is actually a pair of players, and that is the Jaguars running backs, Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. I know he said Trevor Etienne. Nope, he was drafted in this class to the Panthers. These two coming in were an interesting tandem, but people that we thought could potentially end up being replaced. You had Tank Bigsby as the ground and pound more physical back, and Travis Etienne as the more explosive back who was better in the receiving game, but they've both been very disappointing. I actually had them ranked back-to-back in Dynasty around 33 and 34 because I'm just not particularly interested in them. I think they're both Jags, which makes sense given where they play. Well, the Jags went out and replaced them. In the 4th round, right away, they went and got Bashal Tutin, one of the most explosive running backs in this class. And this is someone who they've obviously gone to target. Apparently, in his interviews to become the Jaguars GM, James Gladstone mentioned Tutin as one of his biggest targets, and I think he's going to thrive in the Bucky Irving role in this offense, someone who is very much lightning in a bottle and a big play machine. Then you thought, okay, well, Tank Bigsby should still maybe have a role, maybe Etienne gets traded or cut, but then in the 7th round, they went and drafted LaQuinn Allen. Now, Allen was one of my favorite deep sleepers in this class, and he is more physical, but he is a fantastic pass protector as well, which Tutin really isn't just yet. So between the two of them, you have a great tandem, a more physical back who has a bigger body and is better for short yardage situations, and then your lightning in a bottle, one-cut runner who should be able to take plays deep down the field and work in the receiving game. So between the two of them, there's not really a place for Bigsby or Etienne. You may find that Bigsby sticks on the roster and sticks around with a role, given that Allen was drafted late on day 3, but they are huge losers for me, and I can see definitely Etienne. I was going to say getting traded, but I think the answer is getting cut at this point, because I don't know who's going to be trading for him. If you are enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. There is so much more content yet to come this offseason. Just because the draft's in the books doesn't mean that we're done. And you can also get my rookie guide in the link below in the comments. I'm going to be updating these with landing spots and draft capital, but I already have my Superflex top 24 confirmed after the NFL draft. But let's take a look at one of the other biggest winners in this class. For the second year in a row, the Cowboys just did not address the running back position. They also didn't address wide receiver, which is genuinely mad when you consider the need there beyond CeeDee Lamb. So one of the biggest winners in this draft was Javonte Williams. Now, Javonte was brought in on a really cheap deal from Denver this offseason. I think it's $3.5 million fully guaranteed on a one-year deal. But people thought, he's really disappointed in Denver for the Broncos, not the player that we thought he was when he was drafted in the second round. So probably they go and get someone else, and then he ends up just playing the backup role or maybe not even making the final 53. Nope. They waited until late on day 3 to draft Jaden Blue, who is an explosive athlete, but is very much just a receiving back, maybe even just a wide receiver rather than a running back. So it seems like Javonte Williams is going to be the bell cow in Dallas. This offensive line is looking very good. They drafted a guard at 12 overall, probably a little bit of a reach, but I think a good player and someone that's going to be able to help them create that mauling run game. If Javonte is looking healthier, further removed from his injuries in the first few years of his career, there's a world in which he is going to be a huge value. And looking at Keep Trade Cart or various trade charts at the minute, you can get him for a mid-third round in your rookie draft picks. And that's something that I'd really be willing to do. Javonte's floor is basically a running back 2 this next season. And yeah, there might not be that much longevity to him, but it seems they like him and it seems they want him to have the starting role. So a huge winner coming out the back of the draft. A running back who did not make it out of the draft clean was Tyrone Tracy for the New York Giants. Now, I don't think he is a huge loser. They drafted Cam Scatterbo at the top of the 4th round, and that's a really nice complementary pair. You have Scatterbo for early downs and for the goal line work, and Tyrone Tracy as the more explosive athlete who can work more out of the backfield, given that he was a receiver for the majority of his time in college. But the issue here is that I went into this thinking, I'm going to buy Tyrone Tracy. I really like the talent. I had him as a sleeper last year before the draft, and I think they have too many other needs to actually draft a running back that high. And if they draft someone later down the board, it's one of the sleeper picks, Tyrone Tracy can still function as the 1A. I don't think that's the case anymore. They spent a relatively early draft pick in the 4th round on Cam Scatterbo, and he's clearly going to be the focal point of this offense, particularly on early downs. So to me, Tyrone Tracy is still an interesting option and someone that I'd be interested in taking as an RB4 or flex type option, but he is a clear loser in this draft because he's not going to have the same grip on the backfield that he did last year, and Scatterbo is going to get some of those priority touches on the goal line. So Tyrone Tracy just doesn't have the same amount of touchdown upside. Now, we know that Russell Wilson, who will be the starter this year, loves a check down. So there is a world in which he can still get some volume on 3rd down, but it is wheels down for Tyrone Tracy, one of my favourite players from last year's draft and someone I own a lot of and was really hoping this wasn't going to be what happened. Another veteran winner and another quarterback, another sophomore quarterback as well. Caleb Williams is not just a winner of the 2025 NFL draft, he is a winner of the entire offseason. The Bears went out and got the best head coach candidate they could possibly acquire in Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions. They then went out and completely revamped the interior of their offensive line, getting Jonah Jackson, getting a starting center from the Falcons, and even trading for Joe Thuney, who is seen as one of the best guards in the league. Then you think, okay, well, they have Rhamondre, they have DJ Moore, they have all of these offensive linemen, they've got a more creative head coach. What else could we possibly do? Now, we would have liked to see the running back position hit a little bit more, and I thought this would be something they want to do. I think they probably did want Ashton Genty at 10th overall, but they decided to go another way. They drafted Colston Loveland, my tight end 1, at 10th overall. That is a huge need for them. Cole Kmet is no more than an average tight end. Loveland has the upside to be one of the best tight ends in the league, and he steps in as probably a top 5 dynasty tight end. So, that's a huge complementary piece. The weapons, the receiving core are looking fantastic for Caleb. Round 2 comes around, they go, we're not done yet. We're not done with weapons. Luther Burden, my wide receiver 3, is drafted by the Bears at the top of the second round. Now, it's really interesting to see how these are going to fit together. Rome working more on the outside, DJ Moore probably switching between the two, playing slightly as a flanker and then working on the outside, and Luther Burden as your starting slot. But for Burden, it might not be the best landing spot for fantasy. For Caleb Williams, it is absolutely huge. If you bought him last year or even earlier in the offseason when people were a little bit disappointed, you are celebrating right now. He has one of the most exciting offensive minds in the league, calling him plays, a hugely improved offensive line, and that receiving core is just looking like the best in the league, or the potential to be the best in the league. They are 3 deep at wide receiver with my rookie tight end 1, and everything is trending in the right direction in 2025 and beyond for last year's first overall pick. Whenever a team spends early draft capital on a running back, it is going to be a problem for whoever was the presumed starter. And Rhamondre Stevenson was already starting to lose some of the work to Antonio Gibson. He had a huge fumbling problem in 2024 with 7 lost fumbles. It is not really a sticky stat, so it wouldn't be something I'd be concerned about for the year ahead. But the Patriots clearly went in and thought, we want more explosivity to this offense. We are going to be targeting Travion Henderson early in the second round. Rhamondre, I think, will still have a role in this offense. He obviously has a much bigger body to Henderson, so probably in short yardage work, he'll get some work. He actually is quite nice out of the backfield, but he's nothing compared to Henderson coming out of the backfield. Rhamondre, to me, is pretty much dead for fantasy. He's kind of falls into the same kind of thing as what Tank Bigsby was last year of like, yeah, maybe you'll score a touchdown, maybe you'll get some of the early down work, and maybe you'll get like 30, 40 yards and a touchdown, and that'll be fine for a flex play, but he's dead to me. Travion Henderson is the new RB1 in New England, and Rhamondre Stevenson is a clear loser of this draft. Rounding off the winners with someone that is going a little bit under the radar, but for me is a priority target. And he featured in so many videos last season and is going to keep featuring in a bunch of videos this offseason. Theo Johnson of the New York Giants is an incredibly athletic tight end out of Penn State who had his rookie year last year. He really started to show some flashes, having 4 receptions in multiple games and a few games over 50 yards as well, which is good for a rookie tight end. He then got injured, unfortunately, but there were definitely some flashes to his game that showed the potential of what he could be going forwards. What you wanted for him was a quarterback upgrade, which they not only did once, but did 3 times with Russell Wilson, Jackson Dart, and Jameis Winston. And then what you were looking for was addition by subtraction. Was it going to be the case that they would add no one in the receiving core? They have a clear need at wide receiver too, and they did not address it in this draft. Malik Neighbors is the only wide receiver on this offense who is going to have more targets than Theo Johnson going forward. There's a world for me in which he can see kind of 80 to 90 targets in 2025, especially with an improved offense, and just the fact that no one else can really do what he does beyond Neighbors. I think he has a chance to be the second option in the New York Giants offense, and that is what you want from your fancy tight ends. And if you're playing in Dynasty, you can go out and acquire him so cheaply right now. If he was in this draft class, I'd probably have him as my tight end 4 behind Mason Taylor, who went to the New York Jets. So he is a clear buy candidate for me because they just didn't go out and do anything which is going to challenge him for target competition in 2025 and beyond. My final loser and someone who plays for my very own team is Blake Corum. I've been saying for a while that I'm not sure that Kyren Williams makes it out of this next season. He is due for an extension, and there's rumours that he's going to want $12+ million a year. The Rams just don't really tend to invest in the running back position. They're still scarred a bit by Todd Gurley and the way in which his play declined, and I don't think Kyren Williams has a chance of getting a second contract if that's the figure that he wants. Now, last year in the 3rd round, the Rams drafted Blake Corum, a relatively similar player to Kyren Williams, and someone that you presumed wasn't just the backup, was the presumed heir when Kyren eventually left the team. That said, this year, the Rams traded up for Jarquez Hunter in the 4th round. Now, Hunter is a relatively similar player to Kyren Williams and Blake Corum, but way more explosive. Not only that, but the Rams head coach and GM were quoted afterwards saying that he was the top offensive player on their board going into day 3. And they traded a fair amount to go up and get him. So it would be no surprise to me if Hunter is then seen as the backup in LA this season and Corum is relegated to potentially just returning duties or occasionally spelling some of the players in the offense. Jarquez Hunter, I think, to me, is the player you want long-term in this offense. Kyren Williams, I think, could easily be out. And Blake Corum, I think his career is kind of done before it even started. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any other winners or losers from the 2025 NFL Draft. Is there anything that you disagree with that I'd say? And while you're there, drop a comment, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel to see all of the exciting content that's coming up in the rest of this offseason. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.